Councillor Sardul Marwa, WPTU, Chairman of the Race Relations and Equal Opportunities Committee, Birmingham City Council.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕੋ, ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਸਰਦੂਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਾਰਵਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ। ਜੋ ਹਰ ਹਫਤੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਣਾ ਹਾਂ। ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਐਮਪੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਜ ਸਰ ਐਡਵਰਡ ਗਾਰਨੀਏ ਐਮਪੀ ਹਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਸੋ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦ ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਐਂਡ ਟੂ ਦ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਸ਼ੋਅ। Today I'm joined by Sir Edward Garnier, MP for Harborough, who's been an MP since 1992 here and has served the community well. Sir Edward, welcome to the Sikh Channel.
Thank you very much, Sardul.
And today I just want to talk about your area. You have represented this area and you have served in the government on a number of positions. And I really would like to see, as the Secretary of State of Education, Mr. Gove has said, he wants to bring the Berlin Wall down. I thought Berlin Wall was brought down a long time ago. And what does he mean by bringing the Berlin Wall in between the private school and the local government or even the academies? What does he mean by that?
I think probably what he means is that there is a huge difference in the numbers of people who go to private schools and the number of people who go to state-funded schools, and yet the private schools seem to dominate, or if not dominate, take up a huge proportion of the places at the best universities, the top jobs in British society, top jobs in the civil service, top jobs in the judiciary, and so on. And we need to have greater equality. Indeed, we need to have a preponderance of state school educated people getting to Oxbridge, getting to the Russell Group universities, and then going on to get the best jobs in society.
But it's a revolutionary move. How is he going to succeed?
Well, it's not a revolutionary thing to say. It strikes me as being a fairly common sense thing to say. But you're right, the difficult thing is how to achieve it. And one of the things that I've noticed as a Member of Parliament visiting schools here, I've got three big schools which teach A-levels and then send people on to university, is that there is sometimes an element of diffidence, a lack of enthusiasm to go to the best universities. A lot of people want to go to the local universities, and we're very lucky here. Loughborough and Leicester universities are extremely good. They're in the top tranche of our universities. But I want to see students from my local schools going to Edinburgh, I want to see them going to Bristol, I want to go to Durham, to Oxford, to Cambridge, to London. And they should not be frightened to move away from home and to really engage in some of the best things that Britain's got to offer.
But at the same time, having said that, has he broken down the education system when he set up the academies and taken the power away from the local authorities?
Well, the best people to teach are teachers, the best people to run schools are heads, the best people to run academies are local people who know about their local environment. Whitehall is a useless parent, Whitehall is a useless teacher and a useless runner of schools. So it seems to me that the more local we can get the management and the direction in which schools go, the better it is for the students and the parents of the students who go to them.
Do you think then it will achieve, because the last time I looked at the world tables, UK came very low.
Well, we've got a lot of catching up to do, there's no doubt about it. I personally think it's a great pity that many of the so-called reforms that were brought in by the Labour governments way back in the 1960s did not achieve the great things that were spoken of them and expected of them. We still have schools which are not performing. We still have areas where there is a massive lack of performance in schools, both by teachers and by students. And it's not fair on those students who only get a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get their A-levels and to go on to university. So I want to see everybody lifted up to the level of the best.
Don't you think, Sir Edward, though, when you look at it, people talk about reform, in the local and the national governments, if it works, reform it. If it doesn't work, then change it. Is that still the same thing?
No, that isn't what's been happening. It's certainly not under this government. And bear in mind, we have a coalition of the Conservative and the Liberal Democrat parties, which is locally, for me, is quite interesting, because I don't have any Labour activity in my constituency, and I have spent the last 22 or 3 years competing with the Liberal Democrats for control of local government and to produce ideas. But now in national government, we are cooperating, and I think you'll find that although it's not happened quick enough, and it'll take more than one period of government to achieve the improvements, things are getting better, and things will get better. I think the Academy programme is one way of doing it, but it also requires determination and leadership at a local level.
Right.
And I'm very fortunate in the 3 A-level schools I've got in my constituency, Guthlaxton, Beecham and the Robert Smythe, that the heads there really drive their teachers and their students to improve and to improve and to improve.
Well, we're still talking about academies. I mean, you had a school in Derby which failed, right? And maybe other schools which are not very... If you take that power away from the local government, that's what I'm trying to drive at, is who these academies are accountable to.
Well, that academy was accountable essentially to the
to
parents,
the Secretary of State, or
but also, yes, of course, but to the local community. It was a failing school, and the government stepped in and has shut it down. Just because you are an academy doesn't mean to say you are free to be useless. The point of being an academy is that you draw in local people, you can compete with other local sources of education, but you have to be good, and you have to maintain the standards that are required of you. You can't just set up an academy school in Derby. I think it was a Muslim academy.
Yes, it was, yes.
Nothing wrong with having a Muslim academy,
no.
but if it's going to do it, it must do it well.
Yes.
There's a new Sikh school which I've helped set up
here in your constituency?
Just outside in Evington, but set up by people actually from this very community here. And that is starting very soon. And that will have to be better than, and at least as good as, all of the other local schools. But it will be, because the people who are running it are determined to make it so.
Well, successive governments come and change their policy, obviously. And say, for instance, Labour came into power in 2015, and they take all these academies away, and they're still going to be waste of money. You guys have set it up, and then would that the way to go in the governments?
Oh, I can't be part of a government which is designed to fail. I can't be part of a government which does nothing because there might be an election which produces a different result. You elect my party, you elect me to achieve the things that we have said that we will do, and we will do them, and we have done them. Now, if the public disapprove of what we've done, well, then it's up to them to change their mind. But you cannot set up an academy system on the premise that the next government is going to overturn it. Otherwise, you would achieve nothing. We'd still be in the Stone Age if we did that. You will have from the Cameron-led government a determination to improve education standards, to provide the greatest choice to the greatest number of people, so that local people do not have to be satisfied with the least best. Local people should be able to say, I want something better, and if I can't get it from the state, I'll do it myself, and I'll set up my own academy. And that's what the Sikh community have done here with the Sikh school.
Right, so I'd like to move on just to briefly on health service, right? Again, successive governments, everybody comes in, they want to fix the National Health Service, right? And I don't know who's fixed it, who hasn't fixed it yet. In the last government, Labour government said we've done this, this and the other, the waiting list was still long, and now A&E is disaster. People are waiting 8 hours in the corridors, ambulances are not going on the 99 calls. What's going on?
Well, there is always a problem with A&E, and we've had it here in Leicester, and you've no doubt had it in Birmingham and other centres throughout the country. The National Health Service has been extremely well funded, but again, as with education, it seems to me that the health service works best when it is managed locally. That you can't manage the health service from the Department of Health in Whitehall. So you need to push out to the regions, push out to the local managers and the local doctors and the consultants, the way in which the health service is run. Now, one of the problems is that people misuse the health service. They go to the A&E when they ought to be going to their GP. They go to the A&E when they ought to be going to the primary healthcare system. Now, eventually, if they can't get an appointment at the local health centre, they will go to the accident and emergency, and unfortunately that creates the delays. Now, if we could educate people that who've cut their thumb or had a wasp sting, don't go to A&E, go to the primary health centre, where you will get the most appropriate service.
Well, again, you try the GPs to give them the budgets and trying to take it away, all that. But that hasn't really materialized, has it?
Well, not completely, and not completely yet. But the whole system is being altered so that the community health centres and so forth are going to do the work that is required of them. What we don't need is for people to go into the Leicester Royal Infirmary with a wasp sting. Because the consultants in the Leicester Royal Infirmary, and I dare say the same happens in Leeds and Birmingham or London, should be there to deal with real emergencies. In fact, there are some very good posters up in GP surgeries in my constituency. And probably, there are 3 or 4 pictures. If you've got shortness of breath and you've got chest pains, go to the A&E. Right. If you've got a bit of a headache, go to the pharmacy, and so on. And it's a question of getting people used to not rushing to the hospital for the slightest ailment. But the health service is huge. It's I think, after the Indian Railways and the Chinese Army, I think it's probably the 3rd or 4th biggest employer in the world. It's an enormous organisation. It will have bits which will go wrong. But so long as it is properly managed, properly funded, and so long as we have the people of skill and of dedication, and we do, well then, yes, we will have the odd problem, but by and large, the health service will work very well.
Would you achieve in this life of Parliament, which is coming up to end in about 18 months' time, thereabouts, will you achieve your goals in your party, or the coalition government?
Not for the total improvement of the health service, no, clearly not. I mean, it's like turning a supertanker around. And I think it's a fair point that you made at the outset, that every government comes in and says it wants to put its own stamp on the health. Every health secretary wants to reform. I think every now and then you do need a period of consolidation. But if things are going wrong, or if things are not going in the right direction, a government has a duty to make sure that there is a health service free and available to all at the point of need, and to put in place mechanisms and administrations to ensure that that is there. We are all human beings, and we make mistakes and don't always get things right. But by and large, the direction of travel is right, and we need to be re-elected in order to complete the task.
So, Edward, when there's a disaster happens anywhere in the world, we, the British people, the government, the first one to jump and to help those people. Now we get disaster on our doorstep. Why is it taking so long to implement or even do anything about it? Environment Agency issue redundancy notices, right? All these things are happening, and we have gone nowhere near. Well, there's people being in water for 4, 5 or 6 weeks. What's gone wrong there?
Well, clearly it's a huge personal tragedy for the people who've been affected. Down South West, Somerset, Devon, Cornwall.
Worcester, not far from here.
That's right. Where there has, as one of the generals in charge of the assistance said, that one of the biggest natural disasters happened in this country.
Yes.
Now, we can't stop the rain.
No.
We can't stop water going down rivers, and we can't stop excessive amounts of water flooding into areas which are below sea level. But what we can do is to make sure, and I give credit to the last government, that in 2007 when we had floods, the last government put in huge amounts of money to assist with the flood defences and so forth.
Yeah.
But these floods in this last 6 weeks or so have been even bigger, I think, than even the Environment Agency expected. So you may say, well, perhaps they should have anticipated it more. You may say they should have listened to the meteorologists about the weather forecast and so forth. But the fact is that we have now put in place people, resources, money to ensure that these things are being dealt with. Yes, of course, it would have been nice if it had never happened. Yes, of course, it would have been nice if we'd been able to drain the Somerset levels straight away. But life isn't like that, and we need to be a bit tougher. We need to also, I think, to understand that governments are not responsible for the weather.
No.
However, having said all that, there is no doubt that we were a bit slow off the mark, and I think Eric Pickles has, the Community Secretary, has accepted that. But all hands are to the pump, literally and metaphorically now. And so long as the weather changes, and I fear this weekend we're going to have worse weather, and it's going to get more difficult before it gets better, I think that things will get soon back to
well, the Prime Minister only made the statement today. It said money is no object. It won't be penny pinching and all that. But then the question still remains, 500 redundancy in the Environment Agency, where we need everybody, every single body now to help.
But it depends what they're doing, doesn't it? I mean, presumably, I don't know enough about the detail of the individual jobs that these 500 people were doing. But what we need is pumping engineers. We need hydrology experts. We need people to build immediately flood defences along riverbanks and so forth. If you could tell me what these 500 people were doing, if they were sitting in an office, I'm sure they would.
I don't know. I mean, did we just hear that?
I think we need to be clear about what the government is doing and what the Environment Agency has been doing as well.
Okay, let's move on to another issue. Why is it immigration always a big issue when the Conservative government comes in?
It's a big issue when any government is in.
Yeah, well,
and there's no question.
But even when they're out, they're always saying about the immigration. That's
but so also have the Labour Party.
Right.
I think it's probably fair to say that the Liberal Democrat Party is the party which supports almost totally open borders. But both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party realise that immigration is a hugely important issue for the British public. And it's also, interestingly enough, and I expect you have found this, Sardul, in your own interviews, it's also of importance to my own second generation, third generation British Asian population. You go and walk down the streets of Oadby and you ask Asians who have been born here, Sikhs who have been born here, what are your views on immigration? They'll say, well, the borders are too open. We need to do something about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I don't think there's anybody's in doubt that we need to have a sensible immigration system. I think it's also fair to say that I don't think there's any doubt, it's no longer controversial, that the numbers that came into this country, both from within Europe, and we can't do much about that, but also from outside Europe over the last 20 years, were too high for public services, too high for the economy to cope with, and too high for our welfare budget. Now we need to ensure that we get the brightest and the best, and I'm very fortunate that the population in my constituency comes within that group. You go to most of the three big hospitals in Leicester, and you will find that all the consultants, or a lot of the consultants, a lot of the doctors, a lot of the nurses, are from the British Asian population, and they're very welcome. I have a fantastic relationship with them, and they realise that they are, in many respects, the engine room of the East Midlands economy. They have a very high level of home ownership. They have a very high interest in being stakeholders in modern Britain. But what we don't want is unplanned immigration, which causes all sorts of difficulty, ranging from community cohesion right the way through to economic planning.
So Edward, thanks for that, because these arguments and the discussion will go on. I'm sure they will, many years to come. What message would you give? Because there's a lack of participation from the Sikh community in political life, whether it's Conservative, Labour, Liberal, UKIP, you name it. Why is it, they don't come forward? Why is the political parties, what they need to do?
Well, they need to participate. They need to be there and realise that if they are the first generation, or second generation, or third generation, doesn't matter. They need to know that they are A, hugely welcome within the political system, and B, this is their country. I don't have to tell you that there are Sikhs in my constituency whose parents and grandparents fought in the First World War and in the Second World War. So the historic ties between the community and the United Kingdom are long and deep. But the modern British Sikh is a businessman and woman, is a parent of an English child, is a teacher, a doctor. They are there interwoven into the British way of life. You may wear a turban, I don't, but so what? We're both part of modern Britain, and it seems to me that if you want to shape modern Britain, you need to get involved in politics. You don't necessarily have to be an elected parliamentary representative. You could take part in local politics, you could take part in community groups, you could come and be on the committee of a Gurdwara like this, where you are facing out to the public and making sure that the Sikh population and the Sikh community's views and concerns are made known to local politicians and indeed to me. There are millions of ways which modern British people can take part in political life. And I go to schools and meet children from all backgrounds, and I say to them, I don't care how you vote, I don't care whether you belong to my party or some other party, but take part, because...
to change anything, you have to take part.
Precisely.
Right. Sir Edward, thank you very much for giving your kind time to us, and hopefully as the elections approach, we'll probably approach you and see what's going on at that time. Today, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to meeting you again.
Much obliged.
Bye.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੋ ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਸਰ ਐਡਵਰਡ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਸ਼ੀਨ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਜੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਸਰ ਐਡਵਰਡ, thanks for the interview. I think the presentation is being done for this machine to go to India, and the gentleman, Ms. Mann, will explain what's actually happened there, why they're taking this machine over to India. Ms. Mann?
Yeah, but we had a problem last year when I was over there. Where another one of the ladies passed away, had a heart attack, very serious, but we couldn't save her. I think if we had these fabullators over there last year, we could be saved that girl, she'd be still alive.
Right.
But unfortunately we didn't have her this time, and thanks to the Raj and his neighbour, Chandrakant, they bought these, they'd funded, and they want me to take it to India to use it, not for just the hospital, anywhere around that area, we can use that and save the life in the futures, whatever we can do.
How much these machines cost?
This machine's originally price is £1,000.
Right.
I think Raj has got a discount from somewhere. I don't know how much he paid for it, but I'm very grateful, and
generous.
thanks to the this is, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful...
Yeah. I think what we could ask the audience for the Sikh Channel is, if these machines are costing not great deal, if these machines can help anywhere in India, and for people with heart problems, and these machines can be donated, and if you would like to do something like this, and I'm sure the Gurdwara committee here at Oadby Gurdwara in Leicester would welcome your suggestions and your donations for this, and I think that would be a very good idea.
Yes, very good, because of my experience of 25 years doing the eye camp in India, I mean, in case a Sikh Channel wanted any information, cost the camp and any other information, whatever there, I'm always available, and I'll come down to to give you how the people do the eye camp, what is the exactly cost, because a lot of people don't know what the cost of the camp, but if they can invite me in the Sikh Channel, I can give them my experience for the last 25 years. And this machine, I think, if the Sikh Channel are going to do that in the future, is a great help now.
Okay, well, when you've gone and done the presentation of this machine in India, when you come back, and I'll give you my telephone number, please contact me and come to the Sikh Channel, and we will talk about this. And this is a very, very important issue, I think.
Could I just
yes, Sir Edward.
This exercise demonstrates the way in which the Sikh community in Britain looks after those who are less fortunate than themselves.
Yes.
Now, thanks to these two gentlemen here, this is going to go to India, and it will help people with problems in India.
Yeah.
But this is not an isolated incident.
No.
I have, from my own experience as the Member of Parliament here, I have plenty of examples of the Sikh community in Oadby willingly helping people who are less fortunate themselves. And your 25 years
Experience
in this
in it,
world,
yep.
in experience demonstrates that. So I want to thank you, if I may, on behalf of the people of my constituency for the work that you do in charity and in looking after other people. It's very typical of the Sikh community.
Well, I'd like to thank the committee here at the Gurdwara and yourself, Sir Edward, giving us your time. And certainly this is a well cause that it's going to India. And as I said, people who want to know the information about this, and the Odwi Guru Harkishan Gurdwara here in Leicester would be most delighted to help, and at the same time we would like you to donate and help. For everybody here, thank you very much for coming.
And I would like to thank you to do great honor me to accept him from you. And I will make sure this is for use for a good cause without any cost.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.